So welcome to Women Dating Over 50, up close and in person. I'm really excited to welcome everybody to the podcast. Of course, my name is Michele Burkhart, and I am a dating and relationship coach. Super excited to be here and welcome everybody. And what's really great is that not only do we have people from the US, but we also have somebody from Calgary. So we are spreading out and going internationally, which is kind of fun. And I get that every now and then. Sometimes I have people tuning in from the UK, and we're 6 hours ahead, or they're 6 hours ahead. So super excited that all of you are here to join me today. One of the things I wanted to talk about really today, because I want to do a hot topic. And I wanted, because this is something that I think, and again, it's like when I was thinking about, well, what would be a good hot topic to start with? Because I think it's really fun. I want this podcast to be someplace where you can come and you can get like at least high level help. Because of course, if you check out dategreatguys.com, you can find all my blog posts are there where I go into a little bit more in depth about different specific issues. But sometimes you just want to kind of get a high level, sense that you're not alone. And this stuff is that everybody's kind of dealing with the same stuff. So what I wanted to do with the hot topic today, I wanted to start at the beginning of your dating journey. And I did this, I wrote this blog post, and I did it just a little bit early, a couple of weeks ago, about women that, and I think men do it too, but I think women do it more so. They get online and they even put a profile out. They go through the trouble of putting all these the profile, answering all the questions, putting the pictures up. They do all that. But then they really don't take the next step, and they don't really communicate, and they don't really take the step to actually meet somebody in person. And I think men do that as well. And I think at our age, what happens, because this is for women who are 50 and over, I really do think that we do this because we want that we want that external validation. We want to see how many likes we get. We want to see how many people respond to us, because it makes us feel like, oh yeah, I still got it. I'm however old I am, I still got it. I'm not as old and whatever as I thought I was. And I personally think that's a little iffy, because the dating world is really fickle. And when you go onto a dating site, you get a whole lot more interest and response at the beginning. If you go, like I always recommend, if you're going to go online and do a dating site, I recommend that you pay to play, because I don't want a man who does it for free. If he's not willing to buck up a little bit of money, it tells me a lot about him. So I really do like to pay to play, because I pay to play, right? And it's like, if I pay to play, so should you. But I don't want, so I say go for a short contract or subscription. If you can do a month, and you have to kind of look at them, because every company is a little different, but 3 months is probably going to be the most cost effective. But even at 3 months, you're going to get a whole lot more response month 1, and then it's going to fade away month 2, then it's going to fade out a little bit more month 3, because dating online is not a sprint, it's a marathon, right? So if you're getting all your validation about how wonderful you are and how pretty you are and how smart you are from this external source, and then it starts to fade away, well, then now you're doubling down on how negative things are. And again, I mentioned earlier that if you're going to listen and experience negative stuff, and this is not even just for dating, it's for life in general. If you're going to expose yourself to negative stuff, you need to double down and double it or triple it how much positive stuff you read, you hear, you listen to, because otherwise it's going to consume you, and your brain is this goal-seeking mechanism, and it'll direct you to what you think about. I used to hear this thing, like, what you think about, you bring about. And I was in direct sales 100 years ago. And I really thought that it was like just baloney. I thought it was just go fight, win, cheerleading. Well, then come like, 25 years later, and I'm a certified hypnotherapist, so I have a lot of understanding of how the subconscious mind works. And now I know the way your brain works is what you focus on really does expand, and your brain, because your brain is wired that way. So if you're focusing on guys that are cheaters and guys that are narcissists, guess who you're going to be drawing into your world?
Mhm.
So you really need to be careful. And that's why when I talk to people about dating online, I just want you to have a good balance with that. Understand that it's only one way of meeting. You can meet men a gazillion other ways, but I like doing it because, again, like I said, I can be more comfortable being myself, especially at the beginning of a relationship, and so I like that part of it. And I'm always on more than one site. So I know, Joan, you do a lot of online dating. Are you on one site or are you on more than one?
Two.
Two. Yeah, I like to do two as well. I
Well,
can't
I
do
don't
more
like
than
doing
two.
two, but
Yeah.
I am.
Yeah. Any more than two is difficult. So, I just want to make sure that you really start putting in as much effort into feeding your heart, your soul, your spirit positive. And there's a million ways you can do that. I mean, you can go on to YouTube and Google subliminal positive energy messages. And you can just put that music on in the background, and your brain is hearing all of this positive stuff about just how wonderful you are and how great the world is, and things are all turning out the way they're supposed to. And again, you really have to feed yourself as much positive as you are exposing it to negative. And I like a 2-to-1 ratio on that personally. I mean, and that is actually effective for all different parts of your life, not even just dating. I had to kind of chuckle. Over the weekend, somebody broke into my car, or they didn't break into, well, kind of, I guess they did break into my car. They broke my window, and they just shattered that whole window. And I have a new car, which is that's a little frustrating, but I was like, yeah, but I can't get that disappointed or discouraged because I had a new grandbaby this weekend. So it kind of balances itself out. You have to balance the bad and the good out. So that is kind of the one thing I want you to really be careful of. If you're dating online, and I'm going to just say this as a sidebar because there's so many of you are just now starting to date or getting ready to date. If you're dating online and the man that you're communicating with cannot meet you in person within 7 days, he's a scammer. Move on. There's absolutely no reason that a man who is online, there's no reason why he couldn't date you or couldn't meet you in person within 7 days. I don't care what he tells you. I don't care what he tells you. Let me say that one more time, just in case you didn't hear me. I don't care what he tells you. If he cannot meet you in person, face to face, where you can touch his arm, he is a scammer, and he will ask for money within 3 to 4 weeks. Okay, so please, please, please keep your pocketbooks closed. I mean, that is, if there's anything that you get from this whole thing right there, that is going to be worth your weight in gold right there. Because anybody that is really interested in a relationship, why would they be on, well, I'm coming home in 3 months. Well, why are you online now if you're not coming home for 3 months? It's just ridiculous, right? And they prey on people who are vulnerable. So absolutely just know, it's like, just move on. The other thing I can recommend, and I'm not affiliated in any way, but they do have a reverse image lookup, is socialcatfish.com. So if you think it just sounds a little wonky, check them out, and they have a plan where you can like do it for the first couple days for $6, and then it's, I don't know, $28 a month or something. I don't know, but it's kind of worth it. And the more you experience this, and again, I'm going to go, Joan, I'm going back to you. I would imagine you can tell pretty quickly when somebody's a scammer because you've experienced it, right?
Oh, yeah. I can tell a lot of things really quickly just by looking at a profile because
Right.
I've been doing it for so long.
Well, and as they start communicating with you too, as they start, texting back and forth. Well, and I had the situation. I was like, oh, I think this guy's a scammer. We were kind of texting back and forth, and I was like, huh, I think he's a scammer. And I'll be darned, he was, but I thought I'm going to try out because I wanted to try social catfish because I wanted to try it out to see how it worked before I recommended it to anybody. And so I thought I'm going to run him through the facial recognition. Yes, he was. He had a different name. Yes, ma'am.
Sorry, I was just going to say something I noticed with all the scammers that have approached me. They've all wanted to go off of your regular phone
Oh, sure.
connection and use like WhatsApp or one of those apps where it's, a lot easier for them to be mischievous, let's just say.
Yes. Yes. And since we're talking about that, and again, because you all are new to dating or about to start dating, let me just talk about some of the things that you should look for, right? If they're working out of the country, that's a total like red flag. A lot of times they'll be widowers. They'll have children who don't live near them, which I think that's kind of interesting. They forget how old we are because most of the men we date, their kids are grown. So that's not really an issue, but they don't, they're smart. They're super romantic. We only could wish that the real men were as romantic as they are because they're super romantic. But they either like sometimes they'll work like on an oil rig or they're something like that. And then what happens is that, oh, you're the most beautiful woman. I just can't believe I met somebody like you. And oh, we were just such a good fit and blah, 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 blah. Oh, I can't wait to come home. And I mean, anything you say to them, they take on that persona. Oh, I like classical music. Oh, have you heard of this Mozart? Oh, I like to go camping. Oh, well, I'll take you to this beautiful park. I mean, anything you say, they take on that persona. And so, but then it's going to be, oh, honey, something happened and I need this for work and my bank account got blocked and I need this much money to get home or whatever. And that's how it starts. So any man that you meet should not be asking you for $1, right?
No.
Not $1. No, no, never, 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 never. Again, let me repeat that just in case you didn't hear me.
Oh, no, never, never, never.
Men should never be asking you for money. Never, 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 no, no, no. Because if they are, then that's a scammer. And actually I had interviewed a gal who, and this is not even the worst I've heard, but she sent them almost $100,000. Yeah. Yeah. And it's horrible because, and it was for her, it was a perfect storm. She had personal losses. She had some death in the family. She lost a child and it was a perfect storm for her. So, and just for her, luckily, she could handle it. She owns a successful business and this wasn't, I mean, I hate to say it wasn't a lot of money to her, but it wasn't the same amount of money to her as it could have been to someone else. And she was like, well, it's just money. And I was like, yeah, but it's a lot of money, but still. But I mean, I've heard of women who sell their furniture to send money to these men.
Oh,
Yeah, I know. I don't get
No.
that. I don't get that. So anywho, so I just want you to really understand that for sure, that if that comes up. So, okay. So is there anybody that has like a dazzle my dating that needs some specific help with a specific situation that you would like me to discuss? Something that you did, something that you didn't do, something that you wonder if you could have done differently? Anybody want to do that? Let me make sure.
I have a question about what would you say about when you see somebody online, whatever site you're on, what's the best way to make initial contact?
So this is the problem. This is the problem with online dating. If you're not careful, you sound like everybody else,
Mhm.
right? So men spend 65% of their time online looking at your pictures, and then they'll look at your profile if they like your pictures. So, but I don't want you to think too poorly of them, because we're not much better. Women spend 50% looking at their pictures.
Uh-huh.
So we're not all that much better, because men are just more visual than women. So if you want to reach out to somebody, and I'm a big proponent on that, but I'm also a big proponent, and I know we had somebody, Debbie, there, you were talking about how men are intimidated. You need to really maintain feminine energy. And in my mind, feminine energy is a mindset, and it's a communication style. So when you're approaching somebody online, there's a three-step, I teach a three-step process, and it's compliment, common ground, question. That's the three-step process, right? Compliment them on something, come up with some common ground, and then ask them an open-ended question. Because if you don't ask an open-ended question, they don't have a hook to respond to. Because you
What
don't
would be
want
an
them,
example of an open-ended question?
who, what, where, when, or why, right? And I'm just going to make this up. Hi, Bill, I love your dog. Compliment. I've got a basset hound myself.
Mhm.
What do you find? I don't know, like, what was the silliest thing your dog did today?
Mhm.
Something like that. Because you have to give them a question that they can respond to with more than just one word.
Mhm.
Because otherwise it'll be yes, no,
Right.
green, Irish. I mean, and then they have nothing to talk to you about, and then you have nothing to talk to them about.
Mhm.
If they're smart enough to really communicate with you, they'll do the same thing back, right? They'll say blah, 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 blah. What about you? And now you're starting to get some volleying.
Right.
So this is what I've actually said. And again, I'm sassy, so take it. If you think you can write it. You don't, if you can't, you can't. But if they're doing yes, no answers to my questions, I'll just say, I'm having a really hard time getting to know you. Is there something I should know? Or I'll say, I'm having a really hard time getting to know you. Do you really want to chat?
Mhm.
Because I mean, I can't, I can
Right.
only create conversation on one side for so long without some feedback. I have to, because I don't know this person.
Well, that was my marriage. That was my 32-year marriage, was creating
Right.
communication.
Well, and the interesting thing with men is that it's really see, that's why I had struggled so hard at the beginning of when I first was dating. I could make head-to-head connections with men super easy, because I can have a conversation with anybody, right? I could talk to a brick wall once I get started, right?
Yeah.
But that's a head-to-head conversation, and that's not how you connect with a man. You connect with a man heart to heart, right? And I'm
Is it
not
the heart? Are you
saying,
sure?
yeah, yeah, but I'm not saying that you have to talk about, like, I think women especially get a little thrown off by that, because they think that means that you need to spill your guts and tell all your deep dark secrets, and that's not what I'm saying. You don't need to tell your deep dark secrets on your first date. You don't need to talk about how horrible your divorce was. You don't need to talk about how he cheated on you. You don't need to talk about how he stole all your money. None of that, right? That's not what I mean when I'm talking about, making heart-to-heart connections.
Mhm.
What I am talking about is taking a very common, easygoing topic and asking who, what, where, when, or why. Let's say the dog, he's got a dog. Oh, and now we're saying that you're chatting with him. Well, what made you buy that breed of dog? What was it about that breed of dog that you liked so much? How long have you had him? So, what do you like best about him? How hard are they to train? So what you can do is you can go deep and talk about feelings, about things that don't really matter.
Yeah.
Because then, like, and I don't mean to say they don't really matter, because people love their dogs, but
Right.
you know what I'm saying? Talk about feelings about surface things first and get comfortable with that conversation. Because you can say, oh my goodness, I love the way the sun feels on my face. I love fall because I love the way the way the sun feels on my face in the fall. So you're saying something that's personal, but it's not ooey gooey. And that opens up, because men will open up to you when you open up to them. Right? So you really do want to make that heart-to-heart connection. So those are some examples. So let's see. What dating sites do you have good luck with? Well, this is interesting, because this is what I have found in my experience. I have found that there are different dating sites that respond differently based on where you are geographically. I'm in the Midwest, and not only am I in the Midwest, I am smack dab in the middle of the country, because I'm in the St. Louis, Missouri area. So, what works for me doesn't work for my clients on the East Coast. Right? They have different sites on the East Coast. So that's why what I recommend that you do. Now, some of them I think, are very common. Match is one of the oldest, so they're kind of tried and true. Our Time is good. I like Zeus. It's ZOOSK. I use that. I like those. Those are probably my 3 top. Like Silver Singles, I don't have much luck with here in the Midwest. But you have to understand, I'm also almost 6 foot tall. I know you can't tell, but I'm a very tall, statuesque woman, let's say. So dating for me I've got some additional challenges. But what I recommend that you do is go on to the websites and fish around, because you can go and look, right? You can go and look and see what kind of people are there, even though they might not all be active, but you can still look before you put any money down. And just kind of get a feel for the type of men that are on there, and do that with 2 or 3 different sites, and ask your friends who are dating what sites they're on, because there may be sites that are really popular. Joan, what sites are you on?
Zeus and Bumble.
See, I don't have much luck on Bumble.
I don't,
I like
don't
Bumble because it's slower.
Yeah, it is slower. And if you want to be really slow and very methodical, and you have a decent amount of income to spend, eHarmony is very slow and very methodical, but they really do match you according to your interests.
oh,
But
What do you mean by slow?
good to know.
well, you might get, eHarmony, you might get one match in 6 months. Where on Bumble, you probably get a couple, I don't know, you get a couple matches a week. So what I like to tell people is, go ahead, and you need some practice. If you're just getting started, like when I work with a coaching group, and I do group coaching, I do one-on-one coaching, and I have a video program. And for all of them, I say, if you're just getting started, I want you to date anybody and everybody you can, because you need to get used to dating. You need to get used to saying, I don't think we have any romantic chemistry, and I'll be moving on. Thank you so much for the evening. You need to get used to saying words like that. You need to get used to saying, oh my gosh, it's been so fun chatting with you. I would love to have a real conversation with you. What do you think? You need to get used to saying words like this. So date everybody who's not like a serial killer or a molester, you know what I mean? Do that at the beginning, and then spend some time figuring out who you really are and who you really want to date. And then like go from there, you know. So that's what we mean by going, that is faster and slower. At the beginning of your dating experience, you want fast because you need the practice. You need the practice. Okay, so Anne says, how important is it to designate on the online sites what you're looking for in a relationship, i.e. long-term companionship, etc.? I personally think it's important because I personally am looking for a long-term relationship, so I don't date people that are only interested in casual. And I would assume that men do the same thing. So, but you know, that brings up another topic too. I mean, are you really ready for a long-term relationship? Or do you just need to kind of like swim around in the dating pool for a while? You know? Debbie asks, should you chat via app texting first or via your cell number? Well, I have to tell you, texting on these dating apps is very cumbersome. It's cumbersome. But I wouldn't go off. The only way I would go off the dating app is if I'm going to go onto my cell phone, because I can block them. If I don't like what they say, I can block them. I wouldn't go on to any other communication site at all. Okay. Because I like to be able to block them whenever I need to. Joan has a question. Where are you, Joan? Oh,
Hi.
there you are.
Okay, so I have a suggestion here. What I did is I downloaded a Google Voice phone number on my
Mhm.
regular phone, and I use that basically for all these dating calls until I'm comfortable with someone to give them my real phone number.
And let me explain what that is for all of you that don't know. A Google phone number is free. And then basically you can pick the area code and then you choose some whatever number you want. And then you give that number to whoever. They call that number and then it relays automatically to your phone.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, the only problem is that when you dial out, it doesn't dial out, I don't think, is that number.
No, it shows it's like an app, like you would open Facebook or any other app on your phone, and that's the phone I use to call out. That's the phone they text to. There's a texting, there's a voicemail.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, and so it's like a separate app on your phone, and I get notified. You can tell it to notify or not, you know.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, and I do recommend that because you want to be safe. You do want to be safe. Nancy says that she wants to video chat before she meets in person. I personally don't do that. I think that some people do. Again, though, I have not had any of these horror stories. Like I've had one guy and all the men that I've dated, one man didn't look the way he did in his pictures, and the only way he didn't look different is that he had let his hair grow because it was COVID. So, I mean, I guess I just go into it. I just go into it with this idea that this person, I talked to him on the phone. I definitely talked to him on the phone, but I don't know. If somebody wanted to video chat with me, and we have done that a couple of times. It's not my favorite thing, but it's just not, that's just me. So you do what you're comfortable with.
Yeah.
All of this is about doing what you're comfortable with.
Well,
So
would you meet outside a restaurant then, so that you
I
know
would
that
definitely
person?
meet someplace in public, and I always, first date is up for my first dates are always short and sweet and to the point. I like coffee dates personally. I love coffee dates because I don't want to get drunk and I don't want to drink too much. And you know, we're having so much fun. I'm drinking too much, and then you know, nothing good happens if you have too much wine. You know, so I just keep I like coffee dates as my first date. You know, because again, because I used to pay for all my dates. Like I used to pay my own way before I learned how to date. I paid my own way. Well, then I ended up, this guy wanted to go to this restaurant in town, and it was in it was a trendy restaurant, trendy part of town. I was like, okay. Well, then my dinner ended up costing me a couple $100 and I didn't even like the guy.
Oh, wow.
And so I was like, you know what? I'm done with that. So I stopped paying for myself and I just went to coffee. A coffee date, it's like, it's a half
Yeah.
hour. If you don't like them, you're in and out of there. If you do like them, you could extend it. But you have such low commitment. You have low commitment and you're safe, that kind of thing. So anywho, okay, well, it is 8:05. So let's see. Joan says, I'd like to video chat ASAP because it helps you see their mannerism and is easier to see if they seem genuine. Absolutely true. Weeds out a lot of wasted first dates, not usually based on looks, but other stuff that I gleaned from the video. And that's true. I mean, that's all well and good. This is what's so great about this. There are no dating police. You do what you feel comfortable doing. The more you date, the more comfortable in general you'll get. And so if that's what you like to do, then do it, because women control the pace of the relationship. They really do. We don't think they do, but they do. So I'm super excited that everybody came. We're going to be dropping this. Joan says, if I was good at dating, I wouldn't be single. That's not necessarily true. That's not necessarily true. Don't believe that. Don't tell yourself that, because then you have to tell yourself 2 positive things to counterbalance that. So, okay. So I'm super excited that you're here. I hope you all come back. If you are not on my email list and you want to be, I want you to put your email, you put your email address in the chat box, and you can just send it to me rather than send it to everybody. But go ahead and put that in there. I send an email every week. It has anything that, like, what's going on. There's always like a blog post. So there's an article, all kinds of things. If you want to pick up my book, you can get it at dategreatguys.com. I'll put it in the chat box for you. Or you can go to Amazon. And the title of the book is The Perfect Dating Guide for Women Over 50. It's $19.99. It's the best $20 you'll spend, I think, at this point in life. So I don't let anybody off until we say goodbye. And the way we say goodbye is like, goodbye. So y'all ready? 1, 2, 3. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Bye.
We'll see you
Good
soon.
luck,
Come
everyone.
back again. Thank you for joining me, and I will see you soon.
Thank
Great.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.